When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator. Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Today it's on the air, off the presses. Our guy will be here today to talk about the speech that took place last week in Congress. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. We'll talk about the Clinton emails. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in a moment. Glad to be back here on the program on a Monday morning here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. I don't know what's so funny, but anyway, it's because it's Monday morning and the weekend has gone by again and it's baseball season already. Hey, I want to put up on the screen where you're watching us, as if you didn't know. Comcast channel 187, 43.6 and 13.1. Those are all of the live stations that you're watching us on right now. And later in the day, you can catch us at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at 13.6. That would be YouTube. And then 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. And the Twitter account, you should know it by now, at John Malos, me TV. And so today is on the air and off the presses. And we're talking a little bit about the speech that took place, well, a little bit less than a week ago. It was last Tuesday that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, addressed a full session of Congress. There were some Democrats, however, who sat the speech out because in protest, they didn't like the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu was here to criticize a potential deal, a nuclear deal with the United States and Iran. Now, President Barack Obama working with other countries right now to try to secure that nuclear deal. Here is just a small portion of what Benjamin Netanyahu had to say, and one reason that he said that this deal is a bad deal is because the Ayatollah himself tweeted about the destruction of Israel.
Listen to Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, Iran's chief terrorist proxy. He said, "If all the Jews gather in Israel, it will save us the trouble of chasing them down around the world." But Iran's regime is not merely a Jewish problem, any more than the Nazi regime was merely a Jewish problem. The 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis were but a fraction of the 60 million people killed in World War II. So too, Iran's regime poses a grave threat, not only to Israel, but also to the peace of the entire world.
Talk about this and other things such as the Clinton emails is our media guy, our expert Dennis Hart, here in the studio. And you are welcome to call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11. I also want to put on the screen one of our questions of the day here, and that is, will the U.S. be able to reach a nuclear deal with Iran? And I guess maybe the second half of that question that you don't see up on the screen there, will it be a good deal between the U.S. and Iran? Will it prevent Iran from gaining those nuclear weapons? You can call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11. How important is this topic? How important is this issue to you and your daily lives and the United States of America as a whole? We're back with our program today here on a Monday morning in just a moment.
can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
Back here on the program, and you can call in. We invite your participation today. 436-MeTV, option 11. Dennis Hart is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Boy, it feels like it's early, doesn't it? It's
you?
like 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 10 because of daylight saving time. In fact, the clock over here still says 9 o'clock. Why are we on so early?
I don't know. I like daylight savings time, though. I like the fact that the light stays out a much longer period of time.
Yeah, and there's no compelling reason to go to daylight saving time, though. It does not save energy. It's been proven. It does not help farmers. They hate it. It's really an artifact from World War I. I don't know why we do it.
I don't like it when it gets dark at 5 or 6 o'clock, though.
Yeah, but it gets dark at 8 o'clock or 8:30 without daylight saving
better.
time here in the valley. Without daylight saving time.
I guess you could say that. Unless you live in New York City or San Francisco, it gets darker earlier.
Yeah. You know, Arizona, I lived in Arizona for a couple of years, and it never goes on daylight saving time. It's standard time all year, and it's wonderful down there. Of course, it's farther south, and it's light later, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Okay, what do you think of Netanyahu's speech? I know we're going to spar about this today because I'm a Netanyahu fan. I back Israel. I love Israel, and I've been to Israel. Anyway, all that aside, the speech, yay or nay?
Well, I mean, it's not a matter of being a fan of Netanyahu. You can appreciate what he does for Israel. This was all at once. It was audacious, it was impassioned, it was a fiery denunciation of Iran, it was a slap in the face to the American president.
Why?
It was an effort to, well, here's a guy, a foreign leader coming into Congress without the invitation of the president, never met with the president, and essentially attempting to kill a deal that has not been formulated yet, to whip up Congress and public opinion against a presidential negotiation that is still ongoing. That is, in my way of thinking, out of bounds, even for a man. You can support the man and you can support the country.
He is protecting his own country. Israel is a small slice of the Middle East surrounded by a bunch of Arab / Muslim states who want to destroy Israel.
We all understand that. That has nothing to do with our negotiations.
It has everything to do with it.
Well, no, it doesn't. First of all, the United States has a right to negotiate a deal with any country it wants to negotiate without interference from another foreign country. Before we go on, how would you have felt during the run-up to the Iraq War, the first Iraq War, okay, if the French president, Chirac, had come to Congress and denounced the United States for trying to go to war with Iraq? Would you have felt that good?
Well, I think that's a little bit of a different story
no, it's
because
not. No, it's
we
not.
don't have rockets coming thank God, we don't have rockets coming into our cities like maybe San Diego or San Francisco, much like Tel Aviv does.
Right, but those rockets aren't coming from Iran. They're coming
But they
from,
could be.
Well, they haven't. They're not.
But they're coming. But they're coming from Muslim states, Muslim groups that are Muslim extremists that are tied to Iran, that want Israel destroyed. They want us destroyed. They want the United States destroyed.
Well, let me ask you this now. We're jumping way ahead here. You've asked me for my opinion about the speech, and I've just given it. I think it was unfortunate that he chose this particular time. It was also political theater because he's got a very tough election, Netanyahu does. Next week, as you know, he may be thrown out of office. This was going to play, at least in Israel, as, boy, we're standing up right now, and maybe that was the whole point of it. Maybe it was to enhance his election possibilities in a week. If he's tossed out of office, it's a whole new ballgame. Having said that, we can't read his mind, nor can we read Iran's mind about this particular deal. Nevertheless, it was an effort, a bald-faced effort, to destroy the deal even before we know what's in it. That's my objection to that.
Well, we know a
we
portion
do not
of
know
what's in
it. It has not been negotiated. It has not been finalized.
Portions of it have been leaked, though.
We
here.
do not know if what's been leaked is true or not. You know how leaks go. There are often efforts to destroy certain people or certain efforts by putting out false information.
All right, let's put up on the screen, according to the Israeli Prime Minister and according to certain news outlets who have leaked, but because Benjamin himself, Netanyahu, that is, has leaked part of this deal.
Of course he has.
You know he has. Okay, prior to the speech. Let's put up that first graphic there. According to the Prime Minister, it says that this deal will leave Iran with a vast nuclear infrastructure and relies on international inspectors to prevent a quick breakout time of nuclear weapons sanctions, that is, for Iran. The breakout time with Iran is estimated to be 1 year or less, like maybe 6 months. Inspectors document violations. They don't stop them. Iran defies inspectors. Go ahead.
Well, now, Iran defies inspectors. We have no idea if that's going to take place because we haven't negotiated the deal yet. Let me point out that Benjamin Netanyahu has said for the last 10 years at least that Iran is less than a year away from making a nuclear bomb. He said it for years. So far, it hasn't happened. Iran could have made a nuclear bomb. They've had the capability for a number of years. They have not done so. My argument about what he's done, and certainly he has every right to give his opinion, and he was invited over by the Republican, by John Boehner, by the Republicans. Democrats had nothing to say about this. Obama had nothing to say about this. My point being that he is attempting to destroy the deal before there is a deal. I understand fully what he's trying to do. He is already telling folks, if there's a deal, it's going to be a bad one. If there's a deal, Iran will defy it. We know nothing about that at this point. We do not know if it's going to be a bad
Apparently
deal.
He knows. He leaked some details.
He thinks he knows. No, I'm talking about that Iran will defy it. How can they defy something that hasn't been negotiated yet? Iran's a bad actor. Let's get that straight. It's a bad actor. I would rather be negotiating with a bad actor to try to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon than do apparently what he wants to do, Netanyahu. He apparently wants to destroy the deal, and somehow, magically, Iran will not, if the deal is destroyed, go ahead and get a nuclear reactor. Go ahead and put together what it takes to get a nuclear bomb. I don't think that's going to play.
Okay, let's put up the second graphic before we go to break here. And this is what Netanyahu had to say also in the speech. I want to put that graphic up, and there it is. Breakout time is the amount of time it takes to gather and or to enrich the necessary amount of uranium and plutonium to make and launch a nuclear missile. Not a single nuclear facility will be destroyed under this current deal, according to Netanyahu. Thousands of centrifuges used to enrich uranium would be left spinning, and thousands more temporarily disconnected, but not destroyed.
Right. Well, we don't know that that's the case again. We do not know what's in the deal because it has not been negotiated. Iran has the capability right now to apparently move forward and potentially put together a bomb. We should also point out that Iran is a signatory. They have signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They are a part of the world effort on that. That gives them, and every other country that signed, the right to establish peaceful use of not nuclear weapons, but nuclear facilities. They can do so. Yeah, this is not going to destroy Iran's nuclear capability. They say they're doing it. Though we have 100 nuclear power plants in the country, they're trying to, they say, establish their own nuclear viability.
But Netanyahu wants them destroyed.
I know he does.
That's the difference between the United States and
he does.
What Israel wants.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean he gets what he wants. None of us get what we want.
Okay, we're going to continue this conversation with Dennis Hart, our on the air off the presses expert here on a Monday morning on Connect with Me. Hey, you can chime in at 436 MeTV option 11 if you want to weigh in on this topic of Benjamin Netanyahu forcefully telling the United States what they should and should not do with Iran. By the way, today's program sponsored by Dr. Thomas Casagrande, the owner of 2020 Optometrics.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
We're back here talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and his speech to Congress. Caller, are you there? Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I am. A quick question to your guest. If they make a deal with Iran as far as the capability of making a nuclear facility or bomb, what they're going to do is they will want to destroy Jerusalem. That's my opinion, okay? So I think the problem is that, that I'm glad that they haven't made a deal yet. The president is the same way. I think Congress has to get involved, number one. But I really firmly believe that if Iran gets the opportunity to pursue and make an atomic bomb, they're going to use that bomb to try to destroy Jerusalem.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question about that. Don't you believe that Iran is smart enough to know that if they dropped a nuclear weapon on Israel, that they would be annihilated by the United States and by Israel? Don't you believe Iran knows that?
Caller, you still there?
Yeah, I believe that.
You do believe that?
I believe that too,
but why would they do that then? Why would they do that?
Well, no, that's my opinion.
Right.
I mean, they've done. I mean, they've threatened so many years, and I mean, there's so much hatred there. Okay, number one.
No question. No question.
That's my opinion is that they will do it. They will do it, no matter what Jerusalem does.
Well,
that's
no.
So, caller, let me ask you a question. You feel that Iran would drop the bomb on Jerusalem, despite the fact that Iran would know in advance what the consequences would be, that maybe they'd be wiped out?
You believe that Iranian leaders have a suicide pact with themselves, that their country would be destroyed, but they would destroy Israel. They want their country to be destroyed. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, right now as it is, nobody knows what Iran was going to do. Okay, even with the capability, and they don't have that. Okay, right now. But I really firmly, somebody else is running the show. They're running the show, and they're telling them what to do. It's not Iran. It's somebody else.
No, it's Iran. No, Iran controls its own country. Trust me, Iran controls its own country. Here's what the president the president is hoping to do on this. Okay, he is hoping that with this deal, and this deal would essentially reduce some sanctions on Iran right now in exchange for Iran's agreement to have inspectors completely go in on a continuous basis. Iran would agree not to proceed with its nuclear program for 10 or 15 years. Inspectors would go in and be looking at them on a continuous basis. The president is hoping, obviously, to buy time so that there's a change of leadership potentially in Iran over those 10 or 15 years. Most Iranians like America. Most Iranians do not hate this country. It's the leadership that has fomented a lot of what's gone on there. So there's always the hope that that leadership can change. In the absence of this deal, though, and I'm suggesting this to you, and I hope you're still on the phone here, in the absence of this deal, understand what happens. Inspectors will not be there to monitor Iran. Iran will proceed with its nuclear program without anybody overseeing it. They will be very angry that they haven't been able to reach some sort of deal to have the sanctions against them reduced. So really the alternative is you walk away from Iran without a deal and they'll get the bomb. Or you get a deal where inspectors can go in and monitor it over at least the next 10 years. To me, that's a no-brainer. You want those eyes on those facilities. You want those inspectors there, do you not?
Go ahead, caller. Respond to that. Go ahead.
No, I believe that. I mean, they as far as the inspectors and all that, my feeling is like everybody else. We get a lot of information from the media. I'm one of those guys that loves people like you that knows more about foreign countries and all that, and John bringing guests to talk about it, because a lot of I can tell you like 60% of the people don't understand what's going on in the outside world. Okay, well, if it comes here to the United States, they blew up this and this and that. That's when we get involved. We need to get involved now to stop all this stuff, with ISIS or whatever, but the nuclear bomb is what I fear. It's like you say too. I mean, Russia couldn't do it, Right now, kind of Russia's kind of in a real quiet zone. You don't hear much of that like in the beginning, but Iran is the one I kind of fear. And like you say too, they'd be crazy to do that too,
right.
to shoot a bomb over, and once they get that bomb going, and rush. I mean, Jerusalem will come right back and destroy it. Okay, it's not
the world would, yeah.
But people like myself don't understand why the people don't understand that with the president, what he wants to do is, like you say, make a deal, get inspectors, but it's not going to happen. Is that true? I mean, am I so dumb that the president will get a deal out of this?
Well, if there's a, I hope
and
there's a deal.
I thank you for all of it.
No, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
I hope there's a deal, because the absence of a deal means Iran has no restraints on it to go and get the nuclear weapon. It's that simple, and that's why I think Netanyahu's appearance here was counterproductive for him. I think it further polarized the debate. It further harmed any intelligent discussion of this. I mean, nobody wants Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Let's be clear on this. I don't want it. You don't want that to happen. It's only a matter of what's the best way to try to prevent it, to try to buy time. If this deal fails, Iran will go ahead and get the nuclear weapon, and then what does Netanyahu want to do?
But there are some who feel that they're going to get the nuclear weapon no matter what.
They might. They might.
Because as Netanyahu said in his speech, he said ISIS right now is battling, of course, Iran for territory in the Middle East. ISIS, of course, made up of Sunni Muslims. Iran is Shia, and they're battling for the crown of militant Islam in the Middle East, and they're looking to destroy Israel and the U.S., according to Netanyahu.
Netanyahu
has been disgusted?
Because he's been saying this again for 10 or 15 years. Iran's going to get it immediately. They're going to have the nuclear. He's just said it, okay? We understand why he's saying that, but here's the deal. Yeah. You've just made an important point.
Go ahead.
We can't go into the Middle East and send thousands of troops in to battle ISIS. That is not going to happen. Who's doing that right now? Iran is doing our work for us there to battle ISIS. And by the way, they may be working with us on it. We don't know.
Only because Iran is Shia and ISIS is primarily Sunni.
Because it's a religious war over there. That's exactly right.
But but if you put the two together, they both want us destroyed.
Well, a lot of people in the world want us destroyed. That doesn't mean they're going to do it or have the capability. I can name 15 people who want us destroyed. So what? That's always been the case.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Dennis Hart.
Yeah, I want to ask your guest, okay, does he trust these countries? Iran, Egyptians, the Hindus, they're all crooked. You can't trust any of them. They're back there in the Middle East destroying, God's country. And, the United States government is stupid if they make a deal with the Iranian, because you can't trust these guys. You can't trust the Muslims. Who do you trust?
Well, that's a pretty broad-based statement there. You've mentioned Hindus, you've mentioned Muslims. The biggest Hindu country is India. That's one of our allies. Muslims, that's a 1.6 billion religion, and most of them are just as peace-loving as we would hope Christians would be, although we know Christians can be bloodthirsty as well. The answer is, as Ronald Reagan said 35 or so years ago, you trust people, but you verify. That's the whole point of this deal. Would you rather not have a deal with Iran so that they can just go ahead and get the nuclear weapon, or would you rather try to negotiate with them, put inspectors in there on a daily basis to make sure that they're monitoring the situation, or do you just want Iran to go and get the bomb? Because that appears to be the alternative right now, isn't it?
Well, if it was my opinion, I'd bomb the whole country, because.
Well, let me ask you this. What gives the United States the right to bomb any country? Where do we get off doing that? How do we do that one?
Okay. Well, they send people over here to kill our people.
Iran has? Iran has? I have no evidence of that.
Well, a few years ago, didn't the Iranians cause an uprising here, causing some problems?
That was Saudi Arabia. The 9/11 folks came from Saudi Arabia primarily. No, you see, when you say you'd bomb people, you don't believe there are repercussions to bombing countries? We don't have the right to go in and bomb countries that we disagree with. We can't do that one. And who would you bomb? You want to kill innocent civilians? When you bomb a country, you're killing millions of people. I mean, that's kind of an over-the-top statement, quite frankly.
Hey, caller, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to point to you is that you don't understand. They don't like us. We don't like them.
Okay.
And we were in Desert Storm in the early '90s.
Yes, that was Iraq after they invaded Kuwait. Yes.
Right.
Okay, aren't they the same people?
Not at all.
No.
Different people, different countries, different religion, different sect of the religion.
Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate your participation here on the program today.
Thanks.
Hey, a great topic talking about Iran, the nuclear deal with the United States, and the speech by the one and only Benjamin Netanyahu, who was very forceful. Hey, you talk about respect. Maybe there are some who feel that Benjamin Netanyahu disrespected the United States and the president, but there are some in Congress who also disrespected him. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. Hey, by the way, today's program is sponsored by Dr. Thomas Casagrande. I've got to get over there and get some new specs, my friend. 20/20 optometrics, because I can barely see you right now. Boy, I'm half blind. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back here in just a moment. At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here on the program, our program today proudly sponsored by Dr. Thomas Casagrande, the owner of 20/20 Optometrics. Another call coming in. Good morning, caller. Are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead. Turn down the set.
Question is, why would you allow people that probably have not even graduated from high school make comments where they don't even know what's the difference between Iran and Iraq? This is part of the brainwash thing that happens in countries that some people have no education in geography, cultures, politics, and they make a call like this and just basically make a fool out of themselves, don't even know anything about geography. So that's put aside.
Okay.
Number two, I really think, because I have visited Iran, they do have the nuclear bomb, and I don't think they are there to negotiate stopping it. I think they are negotiating how to not use it. So the other thing is, there's never been a history probably before Israel became independent that Arabs attacked any countries. As a matter of fact, by culture and people, they have helped us a lot. And we have had a complete freedom in our religion, being a Christian in a Muslim country, to live there peacefully. So let's not generalize everybody, putting everybody in one pot, and just say bomb them and blow them up. This is not in your hands, sir, that you call and say blow them up. Okay, it's not up to you. Number three is let's stop being a doormat of Israel. This is not our country. We have our own problems. Let's take care of our homeless people. Let's take care of our educational status of this country. And by education, we can help people like that caller that called to understand the differences and not create issues.
Let me ask you, caller, while you're there, keep that caller on the line there. Caller, so did you agree or disagree with Netanyahu's speech? That's the question.
Mr. Netanyahu has been I think a promoter for support with all the money that pours in. If you have checked the congressmen that have gotten money just to approve with the lobbyists and stuff like that, how much money they have received. Please, let's just open those files and see what kind of a support they get and what money is being made. Okay? And the other thing is, Israel is about time to start having his own problems solved. Okay? And we have our own problems to solve. If Holy Land, okay, refer to the book. The book says pray for Jerusalem. There's going to be problems. If you want to say there's not going to be a problem in Jerusalem, then the Bible is not true. Because it constantly says pray for Jerusalem, because there's going to be problems. That's the biblical. Okay.
Yeah. Caller, you're absolutely right. First of all, the Arab-Israeli conflict goes back thousands of years, obviously, between Isaac and Ishmael, right? There is no solving it, all right? Yes, many Arabs would like to wipe Israel off the face of the map, but a lot of people hate a lot of people. That doesn't mean you drop bombs on them. Iran may have the capability of making a nuclear weapon right now. We don't know that. It's possible the caller is correct on that. What this deal would do is prohibit them, slow them down for a period of time and put inspectors in. Without the deal, they're free to go ahead and do it. That doesn't mean that if Iran has the bomb, that they're going to use it. Remember that only 2 nuclear weapons have ever been used in the history of the world, and who used them? We did in World War II. A lot of countries have nuclear weapons. Russia has it, China has it, Great Britain has it, Israel has nuclear weapons, etc. That doesn't mean you use them. It means that there's a balance of power out there. We called it mutually assured destruction during the Cold War, where the Russians and the United States had nuclear weapons aimed at each other, but were smart enough to know that if either one ever used them, the other would be annihilated. Iran knows this. Iran knows they're not going to drop a nuke on Jerusalem or on Israel without consequences.
Now, wait a minute. Let me bring this down to the lowest common denominator. Caller, are you still there?
Yes.
All right, I want you to listen to this comment. All right, from what I hear Dennis saying here is the fact that I want to relate this to what's going on in Fresno with the gang members. Why don't we just arm all the gang members and just sign an agreement and say, okay, we're going to give you this automatic weapon, an AK-47, only Bulldog gang members if you promise not to use it.
That is clearly so far out there, it's not relevant to what we're talking about. You're talking about an independent country, not law-breaking people in our city for whom owning a gun is against the law. It is not against the law for a country to develop nuclear weapons. We hope that they would not.
Okay.
But there's no international law that says, wow, you can't do that. Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. They signed on to it. Now, do I want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? No, because what's going to happen isn't that they're going to use it on Israel. They're not going to use it on Israel, okay, because they know the consequences. But what will happen is that Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia probably will want their own nuclear weapons. And that's when you get the proliferation in the Middle East, and that's where you have the problems.
All right. Caller, final word before we go to break, quickly, in 20 seconds here. What?
Well, if everybody basically is capable of technology and also the fear that goes with the technology, guess what? Everybody wants to have their own piece of the pie. So what I'm saying is they are not there negotiating to stop it. I think they're negotiating because they already know, confirmed, that they do have the bomb.
They may have it.
I don't think they would have gone there and negotiated now when the talk started years ago. What I'm basically saying is, in history, no Arab has attacked any country other than when Israel became independent. After that, because they have never given the Palestine a break, never given them the right to exist. They have been building on their territory.
Yes.
And everybody keeps covering it up. Why don't you open that and do something about it? For God's sake, it's 50 years.
Yeah, but in fairness,
getting out of the peace talks.
In fairness to Israel, they have not stopped the Palestinians from building their own state. If you go back in history and look at when President Clinton was in office, it was the Palestinians. They're the ones that turned down a deal. They were willing to give up most of the West Bank, 90% of the West Bank, when Clinton and Arafat were trying to strike a deal with Netanyahu.
But you know that any deal in the Middle East involving the Palestinians has to include both sides agreeing that the Palestinians will have their own piece of land. They're going to have to.
Right.
Israel has built on the West Bank. They built in the Gaza,
Right.
etc. And that's obviously a provocation.
They built on the West
of
Bank because they
Palestinians.
say they need the West Bank to protect the borders of Israel.
Right.
All right. Anyway, we're going to continue the conversation. 436-MeTV, option 11. Our program today sponsored by Dr. Thomas Casagrande. He is the owner of 2020 Optometrics. Thank you, caller, for that. We're back in just a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. We're back here on the air, off the presses. We're glad Dennis Hart is here, always to try to put a different spin and perspective on what's going on around the world and some media events and current events that are happening right now. And I will say this, you did mention about the current regime in Iran. They've been in power 35 years. I think one of the things that Netanyahu fears is that once, you know, this thing goes for 10 years, what happens after that if the current regime is still in power?
Well, you don't know. That's why you're trying to buy time, etc. You know, you talk about Iran, and Iran is not a friend of the United States. There's no question about that. But let's go back historically. Why is Iran not a friend of the United States? Because the United States... Does it date
back to 1979?
No, well, it dates back before that. Because the United States overthrew the monarchy in Iran 50 or so years ago and installed the Shah of Iran as a United States lackey. Yeah. Of course Iran is not a friend of the United States, okay? We overthrew their monarchy.
Has it been 50 years
It's been
already?
50 or so years when that happens. Now, there are a lot of bad players in the world. You know who now, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, I don't want them to. Let's be clear on that. But let's say they get it. They are not going to risk their country being destroyed by using it. You know who would use a nuclear weapon against us, though? There's no question in my mind if they could get it. ISIS would use a nuclear weapon against the United States. You don't want one of those extraterritorial, somebody that has no country. ISIS is a movement that is taking over land, taking over Iraq, taking over part of Syria. Iran is in there fighting against that right now and really doing our work for us in Iran, in Iraq. If ISIS got hold of a nuclear weapon, because there's nobody we could retaliate against because they're not based in any particular country, I am convinced they would use that. It is in our great interest. I think ISIS is a much greater threat to the United States, short-term and long-term, than Iran is. I truly believe that.
All right, let's talk about respect. Many Democrats boycotted the speech of Netanyahu. They sat this one out. Dianne Feinstein, who is a Jewish American, she said this on Meet the Press. You watched Meet the Press yesterday?
Yes, I did.
know you always do.
I always do.
She said to sign this agreement will mean that Iran will have a less of a breakout time. Netanyahu says exactly the opposite, that if you sign this deal, the breakout time will be quicker. She's saying that if you sign a deal, it'll stop the breakout time.
Well, that's the goal.
I don't understand.
That's the goal of the arrangement that's attempting to be negotiated right now, to put in inspectors, to limit their construction centrifuges, to put inspectors in there on a regular basis, and to make sure over 10 years, it would be a 10 or 15-year agreement, that they did not move forward with the capability to fully establish their nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, etc. As the caller indicated, they may or may not have it already. But let's say they have it, okay? Does anybody reasonably, and I'm not talking about talk radio crazies, I'm really not. I'm not talking about talk radio hosts. Does anybody reasonably believe Iran is going to want their own country destroyed by moving on Israel? No.
Nobody knows
that. It's mutually assured destruction.
All right.
Okay?
All right. You had some Democrats sit out. You had Nancy Pelosi getting up and walking out toward the end of the speech. She got up and walked out. Here's something else that Dianne Feinstein said. No ally of the U.S. would have ever done what Benjamin Netanyahu did. It was humiliating, embarrassing, and arrogant. Isn't that a sign of disrespect?
No, I think it was a sign of disrespect for Netanyahu to come in and speak to Congress without meeting the president, without asking for the president. Now, that's not to say he doesn't have the right to do that, okay? But yes, Netanyahu flies into this country, does not meet with the man who's negotiating the deal, instead whips up anti-Obama feelings in Congress and trying to do so in the rest of the country. But I'm going to give him a prop on one thing here, and it was great theater, what he did. I do believe it was primarily aimed at his audience back in Israel because he's up for re-election. His party's up for re-election.
Next week,
Parliament
I believe.
next week.
Yeah.
He's trying to reestablish his primacy. He wants to win the election. Okay, so this may have been more for his audience in Israel than it was for the United States, but I think it was detrimental. I understand why Democrats did not attend that because they had nothing to do with the invite.
Doesn't it show disrespect for Pelosi to walk out toward the end of the speech, though?
Probably. I would say that. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that.
He's an ally.
As it showed disrespect for Netanyahu to come in and make the speech. Yes, I would say it showed disrespect on Pelosi's part.
All right. I want to play another soundbite from Benjamin Netanyahu. He said that basically, if Iran wants to be treated like a normal country, they should act like a normal country. And he says if you strike this deal with Iran, it will not prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. It will all but guarantee it. Here's what he said.
The greatest danger facing our world is the marriage of militant Islam with nuclear weapons. To defeat ISIS and let Iran get nuclear weapons would be to win the battle but lose the war. We can't let that happen. But that, my friends, is exactly what could happen if the deal now being negotiated is accepted by Iran. That deal will not prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. It would all but guarantee that Iran gets those weapons, lots of them. Let me explain why. While the final deal has not yet been signed, certain elements of any potential deal are now a matter of public record. You don't need intelligence agencies and secret information to know this. You can Google it.
All right. Sorry about the video problem there with the, it looked like old videotape that used to tear up. Remember that
Absolutely.
in the old days?
The 2-inch videotape, the Ampex machines.
Yeah, back in the Stone Age. But I think part of this speech and part of the reason that John Boehner invited him, number one, is because Boehner is at odds with the president. He's kind of sticking it in the president's ear, so to speak.
No question.
All right, and furthermore, the president, and it should be said that he has an operative on the ground working for the opposition in Israel to try to upseat or defeat Netanyahu in the elections next week.
Well, I don't know that that's the case. Do you know that?
Yes, I've read that.
I don't know that where on.
Well, same thing that you've read.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. There is no dispute.
You don't know that.
There is no dispute.
In the media.
There is no. Well, then it must be true if it's on the Drudge Report, right?
Well, everything that we've talked about here is.
There's no dispute
also in the media.
that Israel and the United States are allies. This is a temporary blow-up. Nobody wants Israel to be attacked, and that includes President Obama. It's only a matter of what's the best way to try to ensure stability in the Middle East. It's a disagreement right now. Netanyahu, playing to his audience back in his country right now, says, I'm going to be tough, and we're going to stop Iran. They're 6 months away. I've heard this for 10 years. He's been saying 6 months away. It's never happened so far. I understand that. But here's the deal. If Netanyahu is so convinced that Iran is the threat to his country's existence, Netanyahu has the capability of knocking it out, doesn't he? He has weapons. He doesn't want to do that. Who does he want to do that? He wants the United States to do that, doesn't he? He wants the United States to do that bombing.
But Israel has done it before. They've knocked out those nuclear reactors.
That was 34 years ago in very different times, and it was still one reactor. You do that now, and that guarantees, if he does that now, guaranteed, Iran reacts, Iran erupts, they get the nuclear weapon.
Well,
you only delay them for a short time.
Netanyahu wants those nuclear reactors destroyed. He doesn't want them in operation at all.
Not going to happen. I mean, they have some capability. They have the right to have nuclear energy in their country.
They do, but that's where the dispute comes in between the U.S. and Israel.
It does.
That's what we're talking about
today.
It does. All right. Dennis Hart is here. We're glad he's here. Once a month, he's here to straighten us all out, my friends. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Hey, Dr. Thomas Gasagrande, our sponsor today, 20/20 Optometrics over there at Shaw and Blackstone. Back in just a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, Who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
I did not have a chance to watch Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. I was on a video conference with our European partners with respect to Ukraine. I did have a chance to take a look at the transcript, and as far as I can tell, there was nothing new. The Prime Minister, I think, appropriately pointed out that the bond between the United States and America is unbreakable, and on that point I thoroughly agree. But on the core issue, which is how do we prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, which would make it far more dangerous and would give it scope for even greater action in the region, the Prime Minister didn't offer any viable alternatives. Now, the deal that we are trying to negotiate, that is not yet completed, would cut off the different pathways for Iran to advance its nuclear capabilities. It would roll back some elements of its program. Now, the alternative that the Prime Minister offers is no deal, in which case Iran will immediately begin once again pursuing its nuclear program, accelerate its nuclear program, without us having any insight into what they're doing. But when it comes to this nuclear deal, let's wait until there's actually a deal on the table that Iran has agreed to, at which point everybody can evaluate it. We don't have to speculate. And what I can guarantee is that if it's a deal I've signed off on, I will be able to prove that it is the best way for us to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
All right, that was the president obviously responding to a question in the Oval Office in the White House after the speech, saying, no, I didn't watch the speech. Yeah. And you know, we were talking about this during this time when the president was speaking. Tit for tat, right?
Yep.
Netanyahu versus Obama.
Yeah. I mean, the president has not been as vigorous in his denunciation of Iran as Netanyahu would like. So Netanyahu comes into our backyard to Congress on the invitation of John Boehner, and essentially, to put it bluntly, and I hate to use these terms, I'll keep it as clean as I can, shoves it up the president's rear on this speech. He didn't meet with the president. He didn't ask for his permission to come in. He did it for the Republicans. He also did it for his audience back there. It was his way of saying, you mess with me, I'm going to mess with you. The problem that I have with it is not that he doesn't have a right to come in and speak. Of course he does. He can come in and speak.
He was invited.
He was invited by the Republicans. By the Republicans. That's
he was
right.
Still invited.
It's that he did it before he knew what the potential outcome of the negotiations was going to be. How can you criticize something without knowing what it is? Had he come in 3 days after Obama announced what the deal was, come in and said, this is a bad deal because it's going to do, he doesn't even know what it is at this point.
Do you think he'll come back after the deal is struck?
Not if he's reelected next week. He won't have any reason to. He's already done what he had to do. He played for the audience back in Israel. He plays here to the Congress. He doesn't have to do that.
Hey, I do want to talk about these emails.
Yours or mine or Hillary's?
Hillary's emails. All right. We're going to make this sound like right-wing talk radio, or is that left-wing talk radio?
This is
somewhere in the middle.
This is middle talk radio,
right
here.
Middle talk radio.
Higher level.
I want to put that second question up of the day. Will Hillary Clinton, my friends, will her emails take her down? Will Hillary Clinton's email snafu affect her presidential run? That's the second topic of the day. But before that, Dennis, we got to take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, about Netanyahu, I just have two things. First of all, I wasn't impressed by his speech because he didn't say anything new that we didn't already know. No, he doesn't want them to get it. Big deal.
Right.
He didn't say anything new that we didn't already know before. And number two, isn't it funny how in this country the people who always are talking the loudest and talking the toughest are the people who never want to take a vote. Those congressmen, whenever they're so sure that Obama's going to do things his way, they say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. Obama's not tough enough. But then when he comes back and he says, oh, we need to take a vote, then everybody wants to back up and they don't want to get involved. So I just think if you're going to talk the talk, well, then take a vote so we know where you stand, and then let's go from there.
Well, you know, I think you make a good point, caller. We've heard the Republicans talk about how Obama's not doing enough, for example, not just in Iran, but against ISIS in the Middle East. Apparently, now they're not willing to say this, okay, only to criticize the president for not doing enough. So my question would be, what is it exactly you would like to do against ISIS? Do you really want to put 100,000 American troops in there and lose 5,000 American boys in fighting ISIS? Do you want us to drop a bomb somewhere, even though ISIS doesn't control a country? They control parts of a couple of countries. Who would you bomb? Who are you going to fight? Yeah, I think it's very easy to talk tough, and Republicans are doing that right now against this president because he's an easy target. He has to make the decisions, and they don't have to make those decisions. But they very rarely speak about exactly what they would do, don't they? They very rarely say, yeah, boy, we need to commit all those troops. It's just Obama's not doing enough. I think that kind of talk, frankly, is worthless.
All right, let's move on to Hillary Clinton and her snafu. I want to run the piece. Her emails. When she was Secretary of State, she was using her own private email account. Did she compromise the security of this country? Here's a report that you may have seen on the morning show on CBS.
We begin with new questions about the private email account Hillary Clinton used as Secretary of State. The Associated Press traced her emails to an internet service based at the Clintons' home in Chappaqua, New York.
Computer experts say a private server would give Clinton a great deal of control over her messages. Margaret Brennan is at the State Department, where officials say Clinton's private emails were not illegal. Margaret, good morning.
Good morning. Well, Clinton's use of private email and servers gave her control over the account and helped shield it from public searches. Now, her aides are adamant there was nothing nefarious about these messages, but it all feeds perceptions that the potential presidential candidate was secretive and not transparent.
Let's go forth and win some elections. Thank you all very much.
Speaking in Washington last night, Hillary Clinton smiled wide and avoided any mention of the controversy around her decision to use a personal account, not government email, for all of her work messages as Secretary of State.
She was following what had been the practice of previous secretaries. Again,
State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf said that's not illegal.
There was no prohibition on using a non-state.gov account for official business as long as it's preserved.
But Clinton aides did not submit those emails to government archives as required by a 2009 law. Republican Darrell Issa said that may have been an attempt to hide the content of those messages. Secretary Clinton's aides didn't hand over her emails to government records. Is that a failure or is that an oversight?
Well, it's a failure to comply with the law that the secretary had to know about, that her aides had to know about.
But in 2014, Clinton did hand over 55,000 pages after the State Department sent a written request for the records. Aides say they tossed out Clinton's personal notes, like memos on her daughter's wedding. They claim 9 out of every 10 emails were to State Department colleagues and therefore already in the department's computer system. Spokesman Nick Merrill said there was every expectation they would be retained. Still, Republican Congressman Trey Gowdy claims Clinton withheld multiple email accounts and wants to know what's in them.
The State Department cannot certify they have produced all of former Secretary Clinton's emails because they do not have all of former Secretary Clinton's emails.
Former Secretary Colin Powell also used personal email. Condoleezza Rice said she didn't use her account for official communication. But Gail, now that Clinton's messages have been handed over, they're all part of her permanent record here at the State Department.
All right, Margaret, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Martha. Thank you, CBS, for that report. Sorry about the video breakup again. We'll try to get that fixed the next few days here. But, okay, come on. Isn't she putting national security at risk here?
Well, probably she did. Now, let's be clear. she apparently did not violate federal law when she did that. Let's also be clear that other secretaries of state
she didn't?
Because there was no law regarding this.
It's against the law.
No. She could set up a private email account, okay? Other secretaries of state have done this. Now, they have not used their private accounts exclusively. The law did not go into effect until after she left office in 2013, okay? She violated no federal law. Nobody is saying that. Did she violate now? Did she compromise security? Potentially. Here's my deal with Hillary Clinton. This was reckless. This also plays to a lot of her detractors' comments and feelings that the Clintons always skirt things. They always seem to do things that are sketchy, that aren't quite above board. We don't know why she did this. We have no idea why. And the very fact that she did it opens the door to people to say, well, she must have been trying to hide something. Other secretaries of state have, Colin Powell had a private email account that he used. Now, Condoleezza Rice, do you know this? Did you know this? Never used email.
John McCain doesn't either.
Because she felt that it could be compromised, okay? And I respect that. So I don't know whether she violated national security. Potentially she did. But I know that this plays into the narrative that the Clintons have developed over these 20 years, that somehow they're just skirting below the law, that the laws don't apply to them or rules or regs don't apply to them. And I'm getting kind of weary of Hillary Clinton and the Clintons in general. So we don't know exactly what she did with that email. She says she's turned 55,000 emails over to the State Department. We don't know.
55,000. That's amazing.
Well, don't you email that in the course of
Daily?
1 year?
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, right.
But it just goes into the Clinton narrative that somehow they're above the law.
I understand, and that's a great point, Dennis. But also, I read over the weekend that she violated federal law according to the Federal Records Act, which went into effect in 2005.
No,
the State Department.
The National Archives.
You said it was 2007.
No. There are two separate issues here.
Okay.
The National Archives, and I'm looking at my notes, that's why I'm looking down instead of at the camera.
No
the
problem.
National Archives and Records Administration, at the time that she was Secretary of State, required that any emails sent or received from personal accounts be preserved as part of the agency's records, okay? Now, she's saying she's turned over 55,000 emails to the State Department.
Well,
so
why does
saying,
she have to decide which ones to turn
Right.
over? Why can't the State Department go through those
you
and
make,
say, hey?
You make a good point. You make a very good point. So she did not, according to what she says, violate this. But there
Okay.
was no law as there is now, it was passed last year,
Right.
requiring all government officials to use only government emails.
Right.
So she did not violate any laws at that point. Now, it looks bad. And I'm the first to say, come on, Hillary. Come on, you've got to address this, and she hasn't up to now, as you know.
Hey, I want to put that question up on the screen. Will Hillary Clinton's email snafu, could it affect her presidential run? It's a 20-month run to the White House. We've got 2 minutes left. Will it affect her presidential run? 20 months and counting, my friend.
I do not believe it's going to affect her presidential run. I think this is just another one of those drip things on the Clintons. First of all, there's no Democrat who's going to run against her, nobody of substance. There's nobody out there who's going to take the nomination from her. If she wants it,
Right.
and she hasn't announced it yet, but she's doing everything to indicate she's going to.
She doesn't self-destruct.
Yeah, she's going to be the nominee for the Democratic
Right.
Party. So now the question is, rather than, is this going to affect her presidential run? I don't think so, because honestly, think about 6 months from now, 12 months from now. Is any presidential candidate going to make any hay, any Republican candidate, after they go through their fratricidal process of deciding who their nominee is going to be in the Republican Party? Are they really going to make an issue of, she had a private email account and she shouldn't be elected president? That's not going to play out there. That's just not going to play.
The press could become weary of this over the next 20 months.
I'm getting weary of
it. They could let it die off, but Senator Dianne Feinstein said yesterday on Meet the Press that she wants Hillary to come clean on these.
And she needs to. She needs to do something this week, next week. She needs to hold a news conference, and she says, okay, here's what I did, folks. Here's why I did it. And here's what she's going to say. I didn't think there was a problem. I didn't violate any laws. I wanted to have my own security. She had her own server at her own house in New York State, etc.
Right.
Now, do I buy into all of that? I don't know. None of us knows what was on those
the State
emails.
Department requires that you use their email system
Now it
because
does.
it's encrypted.
Now it does, yes.
And you cannot, siphon out the information without that encryption.
And that's a key point.
Right.
Was her server as well encrypted as the U.S. government's? Probably not.
No, probably not. No. Dennis?
Well, it's been a pleasure again. Man, we did it again today.
I know.
Next month we talk baseball or something else.
Yeah,
huh?
we could do that. Yeah, you knocked it out of the park once again. Thanks to Dennis Hart.
I was swinging for the
here.
fences, man.
That's
I was
right.
swinging for the fences.
All right. Thanks to Dr. Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics, for his sponsorship today. Glad you could be a part of the program. We'll see you back tomorrow. Monty Torres will be here filling in. See you then. Have a good day.